Hey guys, and welcome to the Wednesday night Grumpy Sound Guy show. So this week I'm doing this by request because I have talked about the M32 many times. I am an owner of several M32s, but I had someone comment the other day on one of my short form videos talking about how there's many things that the M32 is capable of doing that the SQ Allen and Heath cannot do or is not doing well, and that sort of thing. So we're just going to kind of have an overall conversation today about why the Midas M32 is still very relevant even in today's climate, even with new consoles coming out. So stick around. You're not going to want to miss a second of today's show. Hey guys, if I can have literally 60 seconds of your time here just to ask you to please subscribe to the channel. It costs absolutely nothing to subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you can help us give you more of this content on the free side of the channel. Also, if you're really digging what we're doing here and you're digging the Grumpy Sound Guy content, please consider joining the membership side of the YouTube channel. It costs about $5 a month, so about the price of a Starbucks cup of coffee or whatever. You can become an inner circle supporter of the Grumpy Sound Guy and the content that I'm putting up. We'll get all kinds of really cool one-on-one live chat stuff in there, group chat stuff, all that sort of thing. Plus you'll get content that is posted there that will never become public, so make sure you get over there and check that out. And thank you for supporting everything that I'm doing here with the Grumpy Sound Guy. Hello and welcome back. So M32, I personally own 3 M32 DL32 stage box Wi-Fi setups. I have an M32 Live console, full-size console. And then I also have, sitting right here next to me, because this is kind of our rehearsal space, an X32 rack with a DL32 stage box, because I like all my inputs on the front of the rack, as you've heard me talk time and time again. But you guys have also heard me talk about how I am a fan of the Allen and Heath SQ line. I think 96K is where the middle market is going. I think maybe in another 3 to 5, 6 years or whatever, most of the consoles in the middle market will probably be 96K. But as of right now, in January of 2025, on the heels of NAMM, which is where most manufacturers were releasing new equipment and that sort of thing. The SQ rack just came out last week, that sort of thing. I still think that the M32 has a very solid home inside specifically the middle market and middle market venues. Whether it's a Wi-Fi version, a compact version, a rack version, or a full-size live version, people are still buying those things, and I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. There's a variety of reasons for that. The first reason, and I think probably the most important, is the price. And then I think someone just told me the other day in a comment that Midas just lowered the price of the M32. Because they had lowered the Behringer prices a couple months ago. Now I think that's starting to trickle down to some of the Midas gear. And yes, I know that Behringer owns Midas. I think it's all Music Tribe. I think the world knows that. So thank you, Captain Obvious, who put that on one of my videos, that Behringer owns Midas. I'm like, yes, I do know that. That doesn't mean that they're built to the same level of quality, because Behringer has always been a budget entry-level brand, to where Midas has always been more of a professional level brand. And when you look at the X32 compared to the M32 build quality is significantly different than the build quality on the X32. I have had both consoles open. I have seen and serviced inside those consoles. So I can give you firsthand, testimony that there is a difference in the build quality. There's not a whole lot of difference in the sound of the two. They're going to sound identical. One has a lower noise floor. The M32 is a lower noise floor than the X32, and I attribute that directly to the better quality build using Nutrix connectors and better capacitors and better circuit board, technology and that sort of thing. So that, and then to get that for the $3,000, $3,500 range, that's a no-brainer for a club owner or a church who's looking to put a console in that can just get it done night after night after night for years to come. I think the life expectancy of an M32, if it's used every weekend, I think the life expectancy is somewhere between 7, 8 years to 10 or 12 years, depending on what kind of environment you're in. Obviously, if you're an open air dock bar, the effects of salt water, is going to have, and sand is going to have a big effect on the longevity of your console. Just having, we all know that the beach smells like salt water, well, that is in the air, so if you're in an open air dock bar, it's going to wreak havoc on equipment. It's going to make it tough to keep that equipment, where you need it to be. And I would strongly suggest you go toward the Wi-Fi versions of the M32 stuff, because then you don't have a control surface to get that saltwater slime on and all that kind of stuff, and you can kind of protect it a little bit more. Maybe get a little more time out of the Wi-Fi setup than what you would a live. So I think price is a big deal, man, and longevity. They are a workhorse. I think the next thing is industry acceptance and compatibility with band engineers, touring band engineers. Every time I get a B National approach me about doing production for their show, and they ask what console I'm mixing through, I say an M32. They are immediately okay with that. Most sound engineers are walking around with a start scene or a show file for an M or X32, either stored in their iPad, stored on a thumb drive in their pocket. We call that a pocket thumb, pocket thumb drive, or on their laptop, or something like that. And they can install that in 2 seconds, and bam, they're off to the races with their band. That has value in this business. It really, really genuinely does. So to have a console that is so compatible with traveling engineers and with people, who do this for a living goes a long way. So when you couple those two things together, man, there's really no downside, Yes, the SQs and some of these other consoles are 96K, but no one's coming up to me at the show saying, hey, dude, your show would have sounded so much better if you'd have been 96K instead of, 48K. It's like, no one cares, dude. No one cares. You need to get over yourself with some of this stuff, It blows my mind. And I said this in this week's member video, because I kind of did a vlog, kind of a framework to this week's member side video. But, I made the statement, we were talking about some of this and some of the stuff coming out at NAMM and that sort of thing. If you're not a member, you should really go over there and become a member and check out that insider information. But I will leak this out. I said that no one cares, dude. No one gives a rip. No one cares about whether you're 96K or 48K. You know what they care about is, what does the mix sound like? Is there feedback? Are you meeting the band's needs? And that sort of thing. And in the middle market, because remember, we're always talking about middle market here. In the middle market, the M gets it done, dude. It just does. Week after week after week after week after week. My A-Rig M, oh dear God, it's probably got somewhere close to 1,000 shows on it or something. And it's showing no signs, knock on wood. It's showing no signs of failing or anything like that. And I own 3 of those setups, those Wi-Fi setups. So there's just something to be said for that. It's still a relevant middle market console. I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon, unless Midas releases a 96K version of that, maybe 48 channel instead of 32. Although I am a proponent on the fact that most middle market sound guys don't need more than 32 channels, but I digress because a bunch of you are going to complain and say, well, I work for a church where we need 48 inputs. Dude, if you're in a church that needs 48 inputs, you should be on a Heritage D or, an Avid desk or, something further up the food chain than an M32. But I know I put in a M32 desk in a little country church, about 2 years ago, and they're ecstatic with it. They love it. It gives them all the outputs they need to be able to do live streaming. You can matrix out to hit all the other rooms in the church campus. The cry room, the nursery, out in the hallway. Where people just maybe have some social anxiety and want to go walk around the foyer and watch the service on TV there, but they want to be in the communal environment of the church instead of live streaming at home. So, I mean, it's just a workhorse. It gives middle market sound guys, clubs, and churches what they need to be able to do what they do. So, I mean, I can't really sit here and hate on it in any way, shape, or form. I wish it did some other things. The guy that was commenting on my short form video saying that there were things that the M could do that the SQ couldn't, it was mainly routing things. There was routing things that he was saying that the M32 does better than the SQ. So pick your poison, dude. I mean, I'm not mad at you. If you want to spend the extra $2,000 or whatever it is for an SQ, hey, great. If the SQ would have come out when I was buying consoles and originally got into the M32 ecosystem, I probably would have went in that direction. But let's not forget, Allen & Heath has had a track record of crazy failure as well. That D Live I have seen, I know a bunch of guys that's told me stories about it shutting down in the middle of shows and stuff like that. Some of the consoles they had before the D Live, same issue. When they got into digital, there was some struggles there. There really were. Really, right out of the gate, the SI line was probably one of the most stable that they had. They had very little fail rate there. The early generations of the UI, rack mixers, they had issues with. I just had a buddy of mine contact me last week. His UI is starting to just cycle through doing power cycles during the show, and it's pretty much useless, and he's looking for another console. So I think he's going to end up going Allen & Heath, like maybe a CQ or something like that. He's looking for a rack mixer. But yeah, I mean, everybody has their problems, man, but for the amount of M32 and X32s that are out there, I will venture just off the top of my head and say there's probably 100-to-1 ratio of MX32s compared to any other console on the market. There's a reason for that. The workflow is easy. Once you learn the workflow on the M and the X, and it was kind of a rite of passage for a lot of us analog guys that got into digital. Uni Behringer is not an idiot, and I have made these statements before in the past that when he released the M30 or the X32 at a same price point as a 24-channel analog Allen & Heath GL2400, what he did was he got everybody into digital because, the guy standing in the music store is looking at a 24-channel analog console that he's going to need a whole rack of outboard stuff to be able to do everything that this 32-channel console does built in. So guys just gravitated toward the X32. It had some growing pains right out of the gate. They got that stuff, straightened out within the first year or so. And now you got, a situation where it's an industry standard. Because Uni was smart enough to bring that, put that price point down the way it was, then it got everybody into digital. It got guys who would never do digital into digital and said, hey, look, I'm going to learn this format and this framework because it benefits me to know this. And now here we are, how many years later, and Everybody pretty much knows how to run an X and M32. So with all that said, when people come to me and they're asking me what console to buy, especially if it's a church or it's a nightclub on a budget or, something like that, even if they're not on a budget, it's still a solid decision. It's still a viable option, for the middle market. That console, dude, you'd be surprised. Some of the pro touring buddies of mine still have 2 or 3 of those things in their inventory. And when they go out to do a bigger community festival, maybe like a county fair kind of show or something like that, I still see them dragging out M32s, front of house and monitors. And those are guys that got a warehouse full of D-Lives and Avid consoles and the whole gambit of it all, Like, you can't argue the validity of the M and X32. You can't argue the fact that it has taken over the middle market and that it is most people's go-to console. Now, I'm sure a bunch of you guys are going to blow me up in the comment section and, tell me how wrong I am and how it's yesterday and I'm a boomer, which I'm not. I'm Gen X, by the way. If you're going to insult me, get it right, okay? I'm Gen X. And if you want to have a face-to-face conversation, us Gen Xers really encourage that sort of thing. If you want to talk smack. But I digress. Oh, my goodness gracious. I'm really losing it. I really, really am. So, and there was some satire in that, ladies and gentlemen. Please don't take that too seriously. Yeah. Look, man, you use what you want to use. It seems like all you armchair quarterbacks who don't own any gear are the ones that get in my comment section and blow me up over, I would never mix on that console. If it ain't a Heritage D or, a 6L Avid or something like that, like whatever, dude, shut up. How much gear do you own living in your mom's basement, Oh, you're a freelance guy that just mixes on whatever people give you to mix on. You don't really own anything. Well, then shut up and sit down there, Eugene, okay? You're scaring the kids. I mean, come on. Or you're, somebody who works for a pro touring company, and it ain't your dime, dude. It ain't your dime. Even if you're the warehouse manager and you manage, millions and millions of dollars worth of gear, how much of it belongs to you? Like, shut up. I'm talking to guys like me who are full-time in the middle market, in the trenches, trying to make a living, trying to fight through all of the government's BS and the rising prices of liability insurance and everything else. We're not in this just to like stroke our gear junkie tendencies. Look, I get it. I would right now love to have a couple of Heritage Ds. I am salivating at the mouth over that desk. I love that desk. I would love to have a couple of them in my inventory. You know what the reality of my world is? I don't have clients with budgets that can support something like that. I have clients that can just barely support the M32 format that I'm using. Bunch of guys ask me why I'm still point source. Well, I'm not line array. We are going to buy line array probably this year, but I've been slow to run to the table because it's like, dude, my clients are perfectly happy with what I'm currently using. I mean, really? Get off my back, dude. Go buy some gear and let me see your bank account and see, how much profit you turn with your Heritage D down here at the local Moose Lodge, mixing, John Boy into wheelbarrows. I mean, come on, dude. And I know guys that go into those environments all the time, mixing local cover bands with a Digicode desk. Okay. I mean, I'm not mad at you. You do you, boo. I'm okay with it. All right. You do you. If that's what you choose to mix through, you got that kind of cheddar, no problem. I'm not hating on you. But for the guy that's really trying to turn a profit here, it's not just a weekend warrior or someone who has another source of income in their life. They don't have to depend on audio to pay all their bills. Then shut up, dude. Like, this is what works for us. This is what gets the job done. And this is what I will continue to recommend until somebody comes out with, a better console and an economic, framework that makes sense for my clients My clients don't know the difference between a Digico or Avid or a Heritage D or an M32. They don't know. All they want to know is that the show went off without a hitch, the audience was happy, the band was happy, and that's the end of the story. So you can bellyache and complain about how the M32 is not relevant and that it's old school something or another. I can't believe someone is calling a digital console old school, because it just seems like yesterday we were just getting the X32. It's only been 10 years ago or so, 12 years ago, something like that or whatever, that all this started. And look, I get it. Better things are going to come down the pike. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to those better things. I can't wait to invest in those things that will better serve my clients, okay? But right now, there's nothing on the market that's serving them any better than what I'm already using. You know, I'm not someone who wants to use my clients as guinea pigs, you know, to experiment on some new console that I just got 2 days ago and really don't know how to run. I would much rather bring resources to the table that serve them in an efficient manner, and it's gear that I'm familiar with and gear that I'm fluid on and able to give them everything I can give them. My clients never complain about the result. I cannot tell you, and I mean, I'm going back decades, I cannot tell you the last time that I had a client. Well, I had one situation about 2.5 years ago, and I went back and actually gave that band their money back over another 5 shows that I gave them a ridiculous discount on. So I made it right. Even though they weren't asking for me to make it right. We had some equipment issues that night and some things, you know, screwed up. I totally owned it, and I went to them and said, I want to make this right, and I want to make sure that you get every dime you paid me that night back. So why don't you give me 4 or 5 shows? I'll give you a heavy discount on each show, and you'll get all your money back from what you paid me from that show that was problematic. But we still got through that night. No one really knew anything was wrong except for the band. So I still think that's a win, you know. And it was mainly a monitoring issue. We were having some gear failures and trying out some new monitors that didn't work out right. And we were having connectivity issues. And I mistakenly called the wrong scene. Look, I own it, dude. I don't have it all together. You know, I make mistakes too, just like everybody else. But other than that, I can't remember the last time someone came to me and said, hey, dude, I don't think you really got it done. I don't think what you did met our expectations. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying that's how hard I work to try to give my clients what they want, you know, within reason, you know. And I tend to work with clients that are reasonable. You know, I'm very fortunate in the fact that I can say no to a lot of stuff. You know, I just can, you know. I am usually more motivated to say yes during the winter months. But if you're someone who has a reputation of being hard to work with, I'm not the guy to call, because I'm probably just going to tell you that I'm booked or I'm busy or I just don't want to do it, you know. Unless you throw a ridiculous amount of money at me, and then I'll go put up with your crap and I'll go make it the best it can be. Probably better than you've had in the past, because the people you've had in the past were the only people you could get to work with you, and they're not on the same level as our company. It is whatever it is. I'm not mad at you either way, dude. You know, you do you, boo. You know, but I'm just saying that M32 still has a valid place at the table of even today's modern middle market consoles. In fact, I would be bold enough as to say it's probably still the preferred console of most venues, churches, and traveling like tribute band engineers. Which a lot of those tribute band engineers are just, they're pulling M32C, DL32 setups out, and they just run a second M32C for monitors and give that to the band. They share the stage box, and then they're just giving left, right to the house, and they're mixing their show on your system with their M32. That is a regular thing in our area, you know. Some aren't even sharing or aren't even splitting up the M32 core. They're just using one M32 core, and the band is smart enough to stay in their auxes and their mix buses and out of the way of front of house. So there you go. See it every day. It's actually rare that I ever see an SQ anymore. I know 2 guys right now that have SQs. That's it. Everybody else is on M32, or they're on something below that, like a UI setup, or they're on some kind of Mackie DL setup, or something like that. But I think anybody worth their salt is going to agree that the M32 has a better sound and brings more features to the table than any of those other smaller rack mixers. It just does. It's a full featured, mixer that is perfect for the middle market. It just really is. So that's my whole take on this. You guys can hate all you want. NAMM show is about a week away. I may have to come back and take all this back. Especially if Midas produces a 96K M32 version, maybe they bump it up to 48, channels. Maybe they bump up the processing power to where it's much more compatible with the SQ line, and do it at an efficient price point. Well, then maybe I will have to take all this back. But I think even with that, whatever is going to come out at NAMM is not going to knock M32 off its pedestal tomorrow, you know what I'm saying, or the first week of February. It will slowly inundate its way into the market and slowly take over, the M32 market, if it really is that good and it's something people can afford and that sort of thing. Look, I'm not beyond selling all my M32 and moving to something better, but you're going to have to give me a really good reason to do it, and I have yet to see a rack mixer come out that compares to the M32C with the DL32 stage box. Just is what it is, my friend. So, love you guys. I'll see you next week.